Okay, welcome everybody to our webinar tonight, where we will be discussing how to build your career in the business of football. Tonight we have the special honor of having Juli Ferré Nadal, sports marketing consultant, and as he will tell you in just a moment, he has a long career in the business of sports, working for properties and clubs such as FC Barcelona, AS Monaco, FIBA, among others. So Juli, it's a pleasure to have you here.
It's my pleasure. It's really my pleasure, Diego. Thank you so much.
Great. So Juli, before we turn it over to you, I'm just going to engage with our audience tonight and make sure that everybody can hear us properly. So what we'll do is in the chat box, guys, if you want to put where you're connecting from and just put OK, just so we know a couple of things, that your audio is working properly, and likewise, the country or the city where you're connecting from. So go ahead and type that in the chat box, and we'll be putting that if you put that in the chat box, we'll know where you're connecting from. Okay, so Copenhagen, Qatar, Manchester, Mexico, London, Saudi Arabia. Okay, excellent. So it looks like the audio is working very well. Ohio, Belgium, Indonesia, Panama, Maputo. Wow. Okay, Juli, so as you can see, we have an audience from basically all over the world.
Fantastic.
Right. So welcome, guys. So at this stage, what we'll do is we'll turn it over to Juli. Juli has prepared a few slides, and the objective tonight is to provide value to you guys. So, you know, it's not often that we have the opportunity to speak to someone, an executive, top executive, in the football industry that basically can be present here to take your questions and answer any particular doubts that you may have as to how you can get started with your career in the business side of football. So Juli, without any further ado, I'll turn it over to you. As you can see on screen here, my name is Diego Valdez. I'll be moderating the session tonight, but we'll turn it over to you, Juli, for your presentation, and then if you like, we can take some questions from the audience. So over to you.
Thank you, Diego, and it's really amazing to see so many people connected from all over the world. So this is going to be very, very interesting. So yeah, indeed. I mean, a bit about myself. It's been over 15 years now in the world of sports and entertainment. I'm born and raised in Barcelona. I studied in Barcelona, and my major was marketing. So that was where I was coming from, and my initial jobs or my initial career was more in let's say, standard jobs in marketing. And then there was the turning point in 2005, where I saw the opportunity to join Cirque du Soleil. Back in the day, I was living in Amsterdam, and they had the European office there, and they were looking for a salesperson for what they call corporate alliances, not sponsorship, because they were already back in the day from the opinion that it's better not to call it sponsorship, but to call it alliance, and make it, not, some people call it partnership, some people call it alliance. I think it's an interesting word. So anyway, they were looking for somebody that would speak different languages and could sell, and I never worked with sponsorship, so there's always a first time. That's the first thing we have to be aware and to learn from today. And I said, okay, I'm up for the challenge. I went for it, and this is where my career changed completely, because I realized it was a great job to do, and I realized I wanted to do it in sports. And that's the moment that I thought, okay, it's now or never. I never thought before I could go into sports, and that very moment I thought, that's the moment I'm jumping into sports, because I love sports. And my first opportunity came on beach soccer. And beach soccer was a really fun and fantastic sport to be involved with. I run the commercial part, events all over the world, links to FIFA for the FIFA Beach Soccer World Cup, international partners, international promoters. So a fantastic experience that opened the doors for new experience in sports with a bigger sport like basketball. I was in the FIBA, in the International Basketball Federation, again selling sponsorship. So I was always following the same path. based in Switzerland, and it was great. I just started when there was the FIBA World Championship in Turkey. I work on the preparations for the one in Spain in 2014. I lived 2 Eurobasket. I lived the Olympic Games in London. Incredible experience, new deals to be done, new type of companies, but again, a very international approach. And then the opportunity came to get into football. I always thought, when am I going to get into football, right? That was the ultimate goal. That was, let's say, my dream. And then the opportunity came, and it came in a very big way for me. Being from Barcelona, having the opportunity to work for FC Barcelona was really a dream job. I almost couldn't believe it. And again, I was continuing my path. You know, my path was selling sponsorship in an international environment. That's the common denominator over all the experience and all the jobs I had. So I work on that strength. I had the opportunity to connect with the people of FC Barcelona. They had an opening, you know, and sometimes the stars align. And I can say that in 2013 the stars aligned, and I landed the dream job at FC Barcelona. International business was a business unit back in the day in FC Barcelona, when the football clubs were starting to look for international business, international partners. But then the reality was that there was not international business, there was business. You know, the business was coming mostly from international partners anyway. So that's when I got the opportunity to run the partnership and the global partnerships of the club, until I left at the end of 2017, because a very interesting opportunity came my way. As you can see in my experience, in my path, I've always been doing sponsorship, and it's what I love and it's my expertise. But AS Monaco gave me the opportunity to actually manage a full commercial department, where I could manage not only sponsorship, but also the merchandising, also the ticketing, the hospitality. So it gave me a broader look into how a football club works. So it was a really, really great opportunity for me to expand my knowledge and my experience. And we're in 2020. It's a special year for everybody, I think, a year that nobody will forget. And in this year, I decided to set up my own business around sports marketing, around sponsorship mostly, but not only, and try to put all this experience I accumulated over the years into the market. So I created my own firm, still based in Monaco. And I'm very happy to be independent and to be able today to share this overall experience with all of you. So then, if we move into the subject, right? You can see a bit my journey, and the journey is not always like as you plan, and I think that's applicable to any activity, any career, anything you have in your mind. Okay. So what I try to share with you, and I think it's today the objective is to exchange. So I'm hoping that we're gonna have questions and exchange. So I don't want to give too much of boring explanations. I think it's not the topic today. But what I really would like is to share some ideas that have really helped me. Okay, based on my experience, these have really helped me, and I'm hoping it will help you and can set the framework on the basis for the questions that will come after. The first one is really important in any career and in life in general, but let's talk about career, is to set objectives, okay, and try to define your path. So the first question you need to ask are the ones on the left, right? I mean, what are you good at? Because that's what can determine where you can develop your skills and develop your career in football. I mean, are you good at sales? Are you more a servicing person? Are you more analytical or are you more creative? Strategic or operational? No, are you a digital crazy person that is following all the latest trends on innovation? Are you a marketeer? A marketeer that wants to develop their experience in sports. These are really important elements to define for yourself, because then you can try to focus on the fields of activity that can be relevant for you, because there are multiple, and that's the good news. There are multiple fields of activity in the football business. Football business is a very broad concept, so it has a lot of opportunities. But you need to define what you're good at and work on that, because then if you're good at sales, of course, sponsorship sales can be a great avenue for you, and you can start as a junior or assistant and grow in the industry. If you're better at servicing, then sponsorship might be for you, but more on the account management side. If you want to focus more on the stadium business, you have the ticketing and you have the hospitality services. That's more, it can be very analytical. It can be, to build, a strategy and to implement the strategy to sell the stadium, to define the price for each area, for each zone of the stadium, define strategy for each different type of game, type of customer, know the data of your fan. That's a different type of skill, and for the stadium business is fantastic. If you're a marketeer, you can develop a brand. A brand that can be a football club, can be a brand, wants to be a brand, and more we're seeing that. But also, brands that are in football, because maybe a way to build your football, your career in football business, could be with a company like Nike or like Adidas. There's different ways to develop yourself, but you need to know where you're good at and focus on that. If you are digital driven, I don't have to tell you how many opportunities you have on that field today. Everybody's talking about digital, but not only social media. Social media is the peak of the iceberg. E-commerce is fundamental for the business. Digital transformation, all the clubs are talking about that. Virtual reality, how is this coming into the football landscape? If you're good at all of these things, you have a skill that is needed, and that's more probably for young people, but it's really, really important. What are you good at? Focus on that, and then follow consistently this path. Then this complements the first one, of course, knowledge. It's really important that you get to know the industry. And today, the good news is that there are solutions for any age or for any stage of your career, right? What do I mean by that? If you're young and you're thinking what to study and you like sports, great, because now you can go to universities and do your major in sports marketing, in sports business, learn the business, do internships already in the field of sports. Great news for you. You can start. This didn't exist a few years ago. Certainly when I started, that didn't exist. But if you already had your degree and you're already working, you're already in your first job, second job, third job, but you want to learn about the industry, there's so many possibilities. There's online degrees. Only in Spain I can think of the Cruz Institute. I can think of the FC Barcelona initiatives, and that's just what I know from Barcelona. Of course, Diego has fantastic courses also, so I want to also mention the activities of the Sports Business Institute. But there's so many, and that's only Barcelona. I'm sure that where you are, there's more. Everything is done online today, which gives you strength to connect whenever it's needed. So find opportunities, see what Sports Business Institute can provide you, and not only, because this is really about find again what are you good at, what you want to develop, and find where you can learn more from it. And there are also publications, there are also websites, there's social media. Today the amount of knowledge you have access to is amazing. And here I underline learn as a professional, because the fact you know a lot about football, about how many goals your favorite player has scored, and how many titles this club has, it's great, but you need to have knowledge about the industry as a professional. If you're good at sales and you want to go into sponsorship, learn about the sponsorship industry. If you think ticketing is your thing, learn about the stadium businesses. What's happening in the stadiums around the world? There's amazing things happening everywhere with digital, with virtual reality, with everything. Learn as a professional. This is not just your passion and you're learning from reading the newspaper. No, really, please follow your path, follow what you think you're good at, what interests you, and through courses, university majors, publications, learn. It's very competitive out there. You really need to have the knowledge. Then connect, fundamental. I mean, it's just, I mean, everybody that's in the industry, we always say it's a small world, really, because we all know each other. There's a lot of movements, and that's one thing that you have to know about football industry, football business. It's not the most stable of industries, okay? Because football clubs, they have a lot of changes. Things change a lot when managers change. When there's bad results, the activities might defer and change, the clubs get sold. So there's a lot of movements, and that's in fact an opportunity, because the people you know today in a specific job, in 1 year, 2 years, they might be changing jobs. So build this relationship. It's really, really important. Okay, and and be humble, connect with people. Here I put some of the examples of the type of companies that are in the ecosystem and will cross your path. Connect with all of them, engage, keep a relationship. It could be brands when they are sponsor, it could be the agencies, federations, leagues, clubs, event organizers. All of these people that they are in the football business, they will be moving around. It's very difficult to find somebody, not impossible, but it's very difficult to find people that are 5, 6, 7, 8 years in the same job. A lot of movement, connect. And when I say connect, I'm not saying just connect on LinkedIn. I'm really thinking and talking about building relationships. LinkedIn is a very useful tool. I'm not saying the contrary. I use it a lot. I've been using it from day one. Okay, but when I really mean build meaningful relationships. Because it's also an industry with a lot of passion, and with people love sports, and it's very personal. So really work on that. Enjoy the process of connecting with people, learn from people, and one day you will see that it will pay off. And it will pay off, but be patient, and that's another important thing. You've seen my path. I mean, I've been enjoying a lot the last 7 years. The last 7 years, I mean, as I said, I had the dream job at FC Barcelona. I learned a lot here in AS Monaco. It's been a fantastic journey. You saw it took me years to get into football, years. So, don't think that you have to get or land into football straight away for to develop your career into football. It's not always a straight line. It could be that you get into a federation, a sports federation, you get into an agency in the world of sport. I think, honestly, very important, your objective should be to get into sports. And sports, I mean, if you want football and the first sport you get in is football, congratulations, it's great. But if it's not, and it's another sport, it's already great, because to be in another sport, in the field of sport, being with athletes, being with sponsors, being with fans, I mean, at the end, you learn so much that will be, first, a lot of fun. Second, you will learn a lot of things that maybe one day it will help you into football. And don't forget what I said before. It's a very small world, okay? You get to know people in one job, people move, you will be moving around. So, first objective for you, get in the sports field. I mean, I've been contacted by so many people the last year that they are not into sports, and they ask advice on how to get into sports, and maybe they started their career in something completely different, and now they are like, how can I get into sports? And that's a tough one, and maybe we get questions about this later. It's always a tough one. The most difficult one is to get into sports. Once you get into the circle, don't worry if it's not football. Enjoy it. It can lead you to football. It can go, through multiple sports. Before getting into football, I started with Cirque du Soleil. Then it was beach soccer, which was kind of football, but not the football as we understand it and as we were thinking of. Basketball was a fantastic step for me, bigger sport, global appeal. And I thought, well, when is the football opportunity going to come? It took me years. From my Cirque du Soleil job to getting into FC Barcelona, it took me 8 years. So be patient. It can come. It will come if you do the right thing. But don't don't be in a rush, because getting into sports is already a privilege. I'm telling you, being in sports is something unique, and you will learn. And if you get into football, fantastic, congratulations, you made it. And that's my last one. But it's important, and it's really, really important. Okay, we all love football. We're passionate about football. We have a favorite football club. We have favorite players. We want to be close to the action. But if you want to build a good career in football, don't act as a fan. And here, as I was preparing for, when I already agreed to do this session, I saw this tweet from Ricardo Ford. Ricardo Ford is the global sponsorship director of Coca-Cola, so I think he knows a little bit about careers and about sports. Okay, and this is really important. What he says here, I mean, it's just three examples, but for me, it's just the concept and the attitude you need to have. Don't be a fan. Enjoy it, because you'll be close to your idols. Maybe you will be, seeing things that you think your friends would be crazy if they see it. But it's not the moment to ask autographs or to take pictures or to be like a fan. If I'm hiring somebody for a job, I love it that it's a fan, but it cannot be acting as a fan, And sometimes, to give you an idea, we had debates internally saying, is it good that this person is a fan? Or maybe it's better to have somebody being more neutral, because we don't want some misbehaviors. So this is just to point out that it can really, really go against you. Enjoy the moment, and it's going to be amazing for you. But you have to always be professional. You're building your career. You're lucky enough that you're building your career around something you love and something that is fun. It's certainly better to be in sports than to be in other type of jobs that maybe are more boring. So enjoy it, but don't act as a fan. You are working, you're building your career, and don't ruin it because you want this selfie or you want this picture, or you cross a line that will make you lose a job, or get a bad reputation in the industry. Okay, so from my side, these are the things I wanted to share as advice, or as some general ideas to share with the public, and hopefully it will set the scene for some good, interesting Q&A.
Thanks, Juli. Yes, those are very interesting points that you mentioned, and I think based on what you've talked, there's been some interesting questions that have come up through the chat box. So probably the best thing to do at this stage is to turn it over to you guys for your questions, and Juli, we'll read a few of these questions and get your insight and begin the discussion. So the first question comes from Johannes Vogel, and he says, how would you respond to sports clubs that demand previous experience in their sector, which he doesn't have? And he says that, for example, I guess he's talking about career transition and moving into the sports industry, and saying that he doesn't want to take a step back to where he's currently at, I guess, at his corporate position. So how would you advise someone that is working in another sector, looking to transition to the business of football, but at the same time that they don't want to take a step back in their career? So any tips on that?
Well, that's I think the toughest situation, on the sense that, as I said before, I mean, I had so many contacts and so many people reaching out with this type of question. It's not an easy one. I'll try to share a few thoughts. Okay. I mean, first thing, you need to show. I mean, the knowledge part is important. I think that the reality is that you cannot expect that because you have certain experience in another industry, you can easily land a job in sports or in football. Okay, and the reason is very simple. It's because when there's an opening, there's so many people applying for this opening that already have experience. So that puts you in a situation that is not in your favor, right? So that's one thing. So you have to be aware of that. It's super competitive. A lot of people with experience looking for jobs. So that's the reality. So I think that of course depends on the age and depends on the seniority of the job. I mean, it's really different. But I think that first thing you need to get into a course or seminar or be able to add into your resume that you've been attending something that makes you have knowledge about the topic. As I said before, it could be online courses, it could be what the Sports Business Institute is doing, other initiatives that are in the market, depends on the market you are in, etc. I think that's really, really important. That's first thing. Second thing, I think you need to again, the first step should be to get into sports in any way. What I mean by this is that if you come from the corporate world and have no experience whatsoever in sports, a football club is probably your toughest choice, right? But there are other ways maybe to get into it. I mean, maybe an agency, is looking for somebody that has a different point of view and wants somebody that is more corporate, for instance. That could be an angle, or a company that is a sponsor, or a company that does business in the world of sports. That could be a good transition and maybe easier, not easy, but easier to get in. I think a football club, it's a very, very particular element, and I really want to get you into the idea that the football business, career in football business, is not only in a football club. Okay, so as I said, there are many companies that want to get into sports, or they're getting into football not only as a sponsor but developing their business, their services, and maybe there are some services that are closer to what you did in your previous job. That makes you an expert on that. And through your course that you took on sports, you can sell yourself as somebody that is an expert on this service or product, and that you're knowledgeable about sports, and you can help because you're interested and you've been doing following these courses. Football club straight when you're not into the industry is very, very difficult. Tell you that. Agency or companies or other corporates that are in the sports or trying to do sports business, I think that would be your best shot, because then you're competing with another type of profile. Maybe these companies, they don't want somebody that have been in a football club or something like that. They want somebody that know the business, they know the services, and they are more inclined into the sports business. So I think my advice would be find a transition. You will not get into football club if you don't have, or it will be very difficult if you don't have any experience whatsoever in sports.
Right, very interesting. Just to add on that, Juli, what we do at the Sports Business Institute in Barcelona, we have 4 pillars that we work on, and you've touched upon them already, but essentially it's gathering that knowledge, understanding how the industry works from the inside to be able to utilize that with your corporate background, amplifying your network, which you talked about earlier as well. And I think that's something that a lot of people out there can do much more work and connect with people in the right way and network. So those are the first 2. Then what we do at the Sports Business Institute as well is we have a mentorship program whereby we help our candidates by understanding what are their specific aspirations. And here I think where it's interesting is we call the analogy of the window and the mirror. The window being the marketplace, understanding the marketplace and knowing how it works. But then the other area where we sometimes don't do the necessary work, and that's for all of us as human beings, is that self-reflection and that analysis. And I think that's something that when we work with our mentorship program works very well, because you understand what are your gaps and you understand where you're at, where you want to be, and analyze what those gaps may be. And then evidently trying to get some experience in volunteering, or if you're starting out in your career, or if you are already established in another sector, perhaps in your spare time, trying to find a way to collaborate and get that industry experience in sports, as Juli was mentioning. So just as a follow-up as to what we do at SBI, I don't know if you'd agree, Juli, with some of those points.
No, completely. I think it's spot on. I think that's exactly it. Sorry, I think it covers some of the ones I mentioned. It's really important, and you have to understand. When you've been hiring people, because you have so many candidates, and you're competing with so many people that you really need to say, okay, what do I have that makes me stand out for this job? And logically, if it's in sports and they want a sports experience and you don't have it, that's going to go against you. That's for sure. But then that's why I say, agencies or corporate companies that want to do business in sports, maybe there you can stand out because you've done something similar with a similar service somewhere else, or you've been in a strong consultancy, so you can sell yourself as coming from a very strong consultancy background that has learned a lot about sports, and you can contribute from your consulting background because maybe they are lacking that. So think always, and that's always in general in a career, if you're looking for a job or you want to apply for a job, what really makes you stand out? And if you would be in the other side of the table, what would you be looking at? And what do you have that you can offer? So I think that you really need to ask yourself these questions, because otherwise you're just going against the wall.
Right. Okay, very interesting. We have another question, Juli, from Basil. And Basil says, what skills requirements do you think the market needs considering the football industry post-COVID-19? So now that we're in a different landscape, do you notice anything different as far as what the industry is like, and particularly from a sponsorship landscape? And I'm sure you do notice quite a lot of differences and ways that the market is adapting. But with that in mind, taking Basil's question, are there any opportunities in this post-COVID landscape for candidates?
Yes, certainly. And COVID is a very difficult time, but it's a time that will shape the industry, and it's happening as we speak. So again, I really recommend people to read about it and to see what's going on, because that can help them to prepare when the clubs are more open or the business are more open to hire again, because if you come after this with the same thinking as you had before, that applies to everybody. People looking for a job, people working in the industry, everybody, you'll be very wrong. Things are changing, or things are getting accelerated. Let's put it that way. I think that's a good word. We heard it a lot, but it's really true. I think that some things that would have happened in 2-3 years, it's happening now in months. Okay, so what are the trends and the things that are really important? Digital, extremely important, and again, not digital as social media and how we post on Instagram. I'm thinking digital, how you engage with your fan, how you connect with a fan base that is all over the world, or a fan base that might not be in the stadium for the full season, and who knows for how long. And how is that change the relationship between football clubs and fans after that, with the digital engagement and with everything that is going on. So digital, certainly. Digital transformation, again, shops, retail, they will be suffering for a long time. E-commerce, super important to know how this works and how is this field evolving. Virtual reality, more important than ever. People cannot go to the stadium, so how can you, engage with people that still love the club, they want to follow it, but are at home. So, all of this, it's there, but it will be completely accelerated. Augmented reality, the same thing. People think that we will be at home. We will not be watching the games, unfortunately, from the stadium. So how do you close that gap? Only technology can allow that. There's no miracles, only technology. So if you are young, I mean, I understand that this doesn't apply for everybody. I fully understand. So, but if you're young, try to see what's going on in terms of innovation and technology, really digital. And again, not social media or not only social media, beyond that, So that I think that's going to be a very important trend. I think that's something. It's parallel with sports, but I think it's also relevant to mention is esports. There is an incredible lack of knowledge in companies, in football clubs, in agencies about esports. Everybody talks about esports. It's not our generation. We don't understand it. I mean, let's be clear. Agencies, big agencies are hiring young guys that understand the language, understand the ecosystem of esports to sell sponsorship, to talk to them, understand what's going on Twitch. We, when we are 40 years old, and when I say we, I say marketing directors, sponsorship directors, commercial directors of clubs. We don't understand it. It's not our field. It's not our world. We've been raised in a different way. So if you are into gaming, you really have an opportunity to stand out and go to, again, companies, sponsors, agencies, football clubs, and say, this is what you need to do with esports. I understand it. Twitch is growing incredibly. It's getting into sports. So the bridge between sports and esports, it's going to get closer and closer in terms of platform, in terms of media, in terms of sponsorship. So I think that esports is extremely important also, and it's not football per se, but I want to mention it because it's an industry that it's been born before our eyes and it's growing before our eyes, and there will be opportunities there for sure. So I think that digital innovation, technology, esports for sure. And there's one thing that will always be there, under my opinion. I mean, the good salespeople, the people that can bring revenue. If you're good at this, I think that there will always be potential for you, but understand the new trends and the technology and how this can play a role. Sponsors want data. Sponsors want to know who are the customers. Sponsors don't want just to pay. You don't want to pay just to get their logo and people watch on TV and they don't even know who they are. No, data it's really important in the commercial world. So again, innovation and technology allows you to understand the data and how to monetize it. So these are the new trends, or the trends they were already there, coming slowly, but now fundamental.
Okay, very good. Yeah, very interesting. Well, there's a question coming in from Joshua Alexander in Canada. And Juli, the question is more on a personal note for him, because he says he's currently in the second season with a small club in Canada, and his goal is to move into the United States or ideally Europe to work in football. But he's unsure whether to continue to work at this level or perhaps go back to school, take on a program, and, move his career forward in that manner. So he's asking, I guess, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, my thought is if he can do both, he should do both. Honestly, once again, I think that stepping in the industry is the most difficult part. And he will not go from the second division in Canada to a top European club. Okay, I mean that goes back to my be patient slide. But from the second division of Canada, maybe he can find a job in the first division of Canada, or into MLS, or in the second division of the US, where interesting things are happening. Mm-hmm. So I think that my advice would be don't get out. See what could be your logical next step. Don't make it too big. Make it a good step forward, but don't think too big as a next step. Again, first division will be a fantastic step, or MLS or second division in the US will be fantastic, and increase your knowledge with the course, with seminars, with whatever you can do. But I wouldn't step out. Stepping in is the most difficult part.
Yeah, 100%. So Joshua, that's a really good point. And just so you know, we have our Master in Football Business and Management, which is an online program. And I know you mentioned about that doubt that you have about connecting in an online platform instead of a face-to-face. And I can tell you, and I guess now COVID has demonstrated this, how much of an impact the new technologies have, the web conferencing platforms have, that you are really able to build relationships and long-standing relationships. And I can tell you that our experience at SBI has been very, very rewarding to see that people connecting from all over the world, such as you guys are connecting here tonight, come to our programs. They join a collaborative community that allows them to move forward. And Juli, in fact, is going to be one of our guest lecturers for the Master in the sponsorship module. So let us know if you'd like to hear more about what we offer with our program, Joshua, because I agree 100% with what Juli said. If you're already in the industry, it's probably a good idea for you to continue. And if you're able to do that in parallel while you get an education and while you improve on the formal knowledge and skills that you need to get ahead, that could be an option. So obviously we have our program that we offer. Juli's talked about some of the other great programs out there in the market. So be sure to do your research and find the one that's right for you. And if that's the step you want to take, and of course, if you want to contact us, just feel free to do so. Okay, excellent. Right, so we have another comment here from Majid Salah. What is the best way to shift to sport? And what are the needs? Well, I guess this has already been answered in some ways, right? But Juli, can you talk to us? Perhaps this is a good moment to bring in your insight here. Obviously, you've been on the other side working for clubs and top clubs at the highest level. How open are these clubs to receiving, say, not just CVs, but potentially projects that are pitched as something that could be an addition to your CV? So, for example, instead of applying for just a club position, reaching out to them and saying, listen, I'm an expert in this area, or I can do work in this area. Would this be of your interest? How open do you think clubs are to receiving this type of information?
I think it's a difficult one. Clubs are very hermetic organizations, and actually I was reading a question from Mexico that mentioned that, how hermetic that is. I think that in a football club, you either go for a job position or you have a business or an opportunity to pitch. I think clubs don't, I mean, with exceptions probably, but they are not that open. You have to understand that football clubs, they normally they are understaffed and they don't have a lot of time for everything. So when there's an opening, fantastic. If it's an opportunity that is relevant, they might look at it, and even that it's not easy. That's not easy. I think that any other type of cooperation, just with a cold contact, let's say cold calling, it's very difficult. It's a very hermetic. I can agree. It's a very hermetic type of organization.
Right. Okay, very good. I'm trying to see all the questions that are coming on here. But Juli, by the way, if you see any that are interesting that you want to pick up on, just go ahead.
But there was one, and I'm sorry I cannot see the name now. This one is from Santiago. Okay. He's 23 years old, and he wants to get into the football industry, but he says it's a very hermetic industry. That's the one I was referring to. I think that if he's 23 years old, he needs to keep trying. He needs to, and I would like to understand what he means by football industry, because again, football industry is not only football clubs. It can be agencies. I know in Mexico there are good agencies that are very active in sponsorship, for instance. They might be looking for juniors. It's a country, I mean, not now, unfortunately, but it's a country of many events. He might volunteer in one event. He might get involved in events that are not football related, but they are sports related. So I think again, football industry is not only football clubs. He needs to keep trying. He's 23 years old. He's in the right moment to do that. Get any junior job, any internship if he can, but don't think only about football clubs. Don't think about football clubs. Look at the agencies. Which agencies are working on that? What events will be coming your way in your city? How can you be part of that, etc. And start with junior positions and learn.
Yeah, good point. Good point. And I mean, just think of this picture that you see here in the background. I mean, there's a stadium there. Think of how many different positions are available just by looking at that picture. Obviously, there's the two clubs, there's the leagues, there's the federations that govern that. But as Juli said, there's agencies that are working. There's hospitality. There's e-commerce. There's so many areas that go beyond just the work at football clubs. So it is an exercise that you can do to understand that working in football doesn't necessarily just have to be at a football club, as Juli said, right? Now there was a question from Jade that came in before, and Jade is actually doing one of our programs at the moment. She's based in Belgium, and she's asking about languages because obviously you've had an international career. So tell us a little bit about how much languages have helped you in your career and how important they are for those that are looking to get into the industry.
Well, languages, I think it's a skill that will always help you. I mean, it has helped me a lot because my expertise, again, if you see my past, it's been always, if I think, set objectives and what are you good at, it was international sales. That's been my common denominator across all my jobs. How could I get to that? It's because I'm used to do international sales. I'm used to deal with different cultures, and I speak multiple languages. And that's really important. And if you're into football and you talk, you can speak Spanish and English, for instance, it's already a big asset, right? Because you cover such important territories in terms of football. Because of course English is international language. Spanish for Spain, La Liga, Latin America, it's huge, right? And then if you can add any other languages that help you to support that, if you speak French, you speak Italian, it's fantastic. But I think that languages, if you want to be in the international side, is really important. And even if you are in your local or in the city, city football club, you will at some point stand out if you can speak languages and you can talk to different initiatives that happen outside your country, because it's not only that they can come to you. You might again read something interesting, see an agency that is doing initiatives, talk to somebody. If you speak the language, is really important. So I think that it's really, really important to speak languages in order to develop yourself. Again, think about what makes you stand out. If you speak 4 languages, that already puts you into a good situation, right? If maybe your experience with sports is not that big, but you're good in language skills, you can sell yourself to this for this job, saying, hey, but actually I can learn the sports side, but the languages are more difficult to learn, right? So think always, if it's an international job or if your languages can be applicable for the business or the market they want to go to, that's a very, very strong skill.
Right. Okay. Great. Thank you, Jade, for the question. Let's pick your brain a little bit, Juli, because what we do at SBI about every month, we look at all the different vacancies that are available in football, whether it's at clubs or agencies, and we try and gather and curate that content and put it on our website for our community. But the reality is that not a lot of jobs are posted and made public at football clubs. So in your experience, how is the hiring process done, say, for example, in the clubs that you've worked for? Is it done publicly? Is it done through headhunters? Or is it just done through connections from the industry?
Well, there's one interesting thing is that the industry has developed so much in the last years. There are many headhunters. So, of course, headhunters, they are picking high-level executives, but not only. I mean, if you go to websites like Sports Recruitment International, Global Sport Jobs, you will find, not high-level jobs also. It's true that many of them are very much focused in the UK. That's one of the particularities, that many headhunters are based in the UK or in Switzerland, which is another important focus for jobs because of all the federations that are there. But if you look around, you will find. So, and what I'm seeing, so headhunters, I think it's very important, and that's something that you need to look into it through LinkedIn or just sports headhunters, sports recruitment. If you search for that, you will find relevant websites. Again, maybe not in your location, which is the limitation. What I'm seeing a lot lately, certainly in France, is that one way that the football clubs do it is through the LinkedIn. So again, think about football clubs for your industry development. Not only follow them on Facebook or on Instagram, etc. Follow them on LinkedIn, because I've seen a lot, certainly in France, all of them, well, many of them, at least the ones I follow, when there is an opening and not a high level executive, it's through headhunting, but like more, even junior positions, we post it on LinkedIn because it's a great way to get feedback. So follow as much as you can, and go to their page on LinkedIn, see what's going on in the football clubs in your area, because that's normally a good way to put it. I think it's very difficult. Otherwise, I mean, I've received so many CVs to forward to HR. That's very difficult. That's really, really a long shot, because HR will receive so many CVs that if they're not looking for something particular, don't think they are just storing them somewhere and they will call you when they have a need. When they have a need, they will post it on LinkedIn, and then they will wait for people to come.
So it goes back to that point that Juli mentioned earlier about being patient, and just adding on that point that Juli has made, I think, and this is for everybody listening, it's important to be patient, and at the same time, I guess it's important to be patient at the macro level, and on the micro level, always continuing to do something to move forward and move ahead. So interesting as well, but it definitely, it's not something that is happening overnight. It's a very competitive industry. Maybe we have time for one or two more, Juli, and there was an interesting one from Mikkel Gellert in Denmark, and he says, well, obviously coming from Denmark, which is a small country, there's few jobs around football, and he's asking, would you recommend looking abroad, and how would you go about starting that process? So for somebody in a market that wants to go abroad, any recommendations?
Well, I think that, again, I will look into these job search websites. So I think that would be one. The other, a good way also to start, again, not thinking only about football, but about sports in general, is events. When there is a big event in a city or in a country, there's always a need to recruit people, right? Of course, it's temporary. Of course, it has a clear ending date, but it's a good way to get into it and learn and get to know people that might be helpful for you in the future. And the thing that he needs to think, or she needs to think, is, sorry, what was the name of the person, Diego?
Mikkel, I believe.
Mikkel. What Mikkel needs to think is, okay, if he goes abroad, why a football club or an entity or whatever will hire somebody from Denmark when probably they have already local people, right? And it's a question he needs to ask. I don't have the answer, but if there's an event, happening in certain places, maybe speaking Danish is an interesting thing for the organizer, and they cannot look for that locally, right? Or it's difficult. Maybe has an experience somewhere. I don't know, maybe he speaks other languages. Maybe he needs to start in Scandinavia when we talk about going abroad, not going to the south of Europe, for instance. No, I mean, I think he needs to, again, as you said, I like your analogy about the mirror. I think he needs to think, okay, what can I provide? If I write 3 bullet points about myself to somebody that doesn't know me and might think, hey, this profile is interesting, what would that be? And why is that relevant? Because again, for an event, it can be very relevant. For a football club, it can be less relevant. So really make the exercise. But abroad, for sure, when you're thinking about going abroad, of course, your options grow exponentially. That's natural. But again, you need to think that you're competing with local people there and so on. So what makes you different? But again, I mean, I think that the websites I mentioned and the sports recruitment, search that needs to be done, it's really interesting, and LinkedIn also. So for sure, be brave and try and look for it, because it can be, for sure, it can bring opportunities.
Okay, excellent. Well, I guess at this stage we can wrap things up. I know there's a few questions that we couldn't get to, and we're just about wrapping up the hour mark here. So, Juli, in just a moment, I'll talk briefly about our master's program for those that maybe want to know a little bit more. But I'll give you an opportunity just to share any final thoughts, insights from your perspective based on what you've already shared with your slides and some of the questions that have come up. So, any final thoughts or takeaways that you want to share with our audience?
No, I mean, I think that just to wrap it up, I think that patience and thinking what makes me stand out, I think it's really important, and any link you can have to sports, use it. If it's a course, a conference, something, use it. If you can start with a low-level job somewhere as a volunteer somewhere, go for it. Don't think you go straight to the football club you love. It's a mistake. Try to get your foot in the industry. That's the most difficult part. Once you're in, you will find your way if you're patient. Somebody was asking if he can mention that he is a founder of a sports agency. Yes, because that brings him or her a link to sports. Use any link to sports you can. Step in your industry. Find a way to get in through an event, through an agency, through a company that is doing something in sports. Doesn't matter. That would make you one of us. You're going to be inside, and that's the most difficult part. Get inside, be patient, follow on LinkedIn, read publications, understand what's going on, because then when you connect with people, you can refer to something you read or a trend you've seen, or you've seen that the football club is doing something that is linked to your experience. That's a meaningful connection. Connecting with somebody with nothing to say, saying, hey, I love to work in football, that's not going to work.
Right. Okay, very interesting. Sorry, let me just go then to the final slide that we prepared here, just to let you know about our Master in Football Business and Management. It's an online program that lasts 8 months. We start from October up until the end of May, and then we have 2 days in Barcelona where we take you guys inside FC Barcelona, Espanyol, Media Pro, and we have a nice graduation ceremony. It's a good alternative for those that want to continue their professional activity or their academic activity, because you can do this in parallel. What we do is we bring in top guest speakers, and like I mentioned earlier, Juli is one of those speakers that will be taking part in the master's program. Juli's expertise, of course, is sponsorship, and that's the area that he's going to be sharing with our master's students. But just like Juli, we bring in top executives from across different areas of the football industry with their expertise. The idea is twofold. Number one, that you learn, and number two, that you connect. Because when you have that knowledge, when you amplify that network, and you have that mentorship that we provide at SDI, it's not a guarantee, because in this day and age, there are no guarantees, but it does optimize opportunities, and it does enhance career advancement initiatives. So If you are interested, let me post the link in the chat box. If you want to download our prospectus, see what it's about. I know there's a lot of questions that were left unanswered just because of the time. Feel free to send them to us at SBI. We will be very happy to jump on a call with you and discuss further your career objectives, your needs. And perhaps this is a program that may be fitting for what you're looking for. So have a look at the link that we've posted and get in touch if you're interested to know more. It starts in October, finishes in the end of May, and then we have 2 days in Barcelona, all included in the online program. So without anything else from my end, Juli, just again to thank you for taking the time to be here tonight and answer some of the questions from our audience, and we look forward to engaging with you as of the start of our master's program, when we are very keen to hear what you will share with our students then.
Fantastic, with pleasure. It's been a pleasure. I'm sorry we couldn't answer all the questions. We can of course connect, and I'm looking forward to be part of the masters this year.
Excellent. Juli, where can people find you if they want to know more about you and what you're doing? What's your Twitter? What's your LinkedIn?
Well, on LinkedIn it's easy to find me, and I'm happy to connect. And I just started on Twitter. I mean, I wasn't on Twitter, but like a passive user. And now I just started with my public profile very recently, so very happy to connect there. My username is Juli Ferré N from Nadal. So Juli Ferré all together, N, and very happy to connect through social media and try to help everybody to get in this complicated but fantastic industry.
Fantastic, Juli. We've just posted your Twitter handle there. Juli Ferré N. So give Juli a follow, and obviously always interesting to hear what he has to say from a sponsorship and a sports business perspective. So Juli, thanks again. It's been a real pleasure. It's been very insightful. We look forward to continue to engage with you, and all the best with your summer, the rest of your summer holidays, and look forward to seeing you in the fall again.
Likewise, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, everybody that connected.
Great. Thanks, everybody. See you next time for the next webinar. Stay tuned and all the best. Stay safe. Take care. Bye for now.
Bye.